Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome to Riverfront Reading. And thank you for coming tonight. And we have a great lineup. I'm just doing the welcoming and announcements of the next Riverfront readings. September's, probably the middle of September, we're still working on the dates. We're going to be featuring Sylvia Koffler and Bob Walkenhorst, and we're going to do this in partnership with Vino and Verse at the Warwick Theater. So we're still working on those dates with the Warwick. So you'll get some announcements about that. And then October 24th, we have our Phil Miller Scholarship Reading, which we do annually in memory of Phil Miller, who was the founder of Riverfront and a teacher to all of us. And all the proceeds go to scholarship at the Kansas City, Kansas Community College, where he was a teacher for many, many years. So you'll be getting information about that, and I hope you can join us for that as well. So I'm going to pass it over to Beth.
No.
Is that right?
No, James.
No.
James, sorry. I had
Okay.
one job.
Okay, I'm just gonna go over really quickly the Writer's Place readings coming up. So the next one coming up is going to be on September 17th at 7 p.m. That will be Camilla Aisha Moon. Hopefully I said that right. Ron Cordage and Charles Harper Webb. I probably messed up some names there. Then on September 24th, also at 7 o'clock, is the I-70 Review magazine release reading. All these are on Zoom, by the way. September 25th, the very next day at 3 p.m. is 1000 Poets for Change open mic. You can sign up for that by contacting Mary Frances Wagner if you'd like to read. Let's see. Interesting. I just realized that we have the I-70 release thing on here twice. We also have it. We have it
twice.
No, there are two.
There are two. Okay, well then it's going to happen again on October 1st, also 7 p.m., also on Zoom. Then on October 7th, there will be an actual live reading at the Westport Coffee House on Pennsylvania, 7 p.m.
And Sylvia.
Oh, my turn?
Mhm.
All right. The next Vino and Verse, which I host, will be Tuesday, the 14th of September at the Warwick Theater. As usual, between 6:30 and 7, there's a social hour mixer, and then the reading will start at 7. We have one featured reader. Our featured reader is Angela Carroll Brown, recipient of the 2018 North Street Book Prize in Literary Fiction for her novel Trading Fours, and the Soulworth Magazine Poetry Prize for her poem Cotton Candy. Writer, vocalist, artist Angela Carroll Brown has published 7 books in the areas of fiction, poetry, and a memoir. And from 7:45 to 9 p.m., we have an open mic. So if you wanted to read, you can usually read 2 poems, 3 poems. You can sign up at thornysubmissions@gmail.com or send me an email. That's fine. Or sign up when you arrive. It's pretty informal that way.
So I think we're ready to start the reading. Yeah. So I'm going to
Oh, I
introduce.
don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. So our first reader tonight is Kathy Allen. Kathy Allen's work has appeared in The Wind, The Same, Kansas Voices, and elsewhere. She has a chapbook, End of Front Street. She has had a number of jobs, customer service, sales, telephone operator, and she currently works as a home health aide. She lives in Kansas City, Kansas. She has lived in Kansas City, Kansas most of her life. She is a graduate of the University of Kansas in Lawrence. Everyone, Kathy Allen.
Thank you, James, for that introduction. And I want to thank everyone for asking me to read and for allowing me to do this. And I don't want to look at myself in the picture here, but I guess I have to. I just have a variety of poems that I put together. I'm not sure if they really go together, but anyway, I'm going to read them anyway. So the first one is called Birds on a Page. In long-term care, the residents press color pencils to bird outlines on coloring pages. Brighter colors than reality, except in Cuba, where pollution hasn't yet stripped away reds, blues, oranges, greens. Multiple colors grace one little bird with pointed tuft and wings. Today, in the blustery blow outside the common area, a blackbird flies at the window, crashes at the corner, rallies before it sails into the sky. Snow-white feather patches reveal from underneath. Bored near death with isolation. Each morning at home, I stare out at the frozen backyard, feel the ache of hard sorrow and remorse I don't want to travel through again, dread the treacherous drive. There in the trees grown too tall, I hear my birds, hidden in stark branches, sing their varied songs. And the next one, I'm just going to go ahead and read through them. It's not going to help me to talk about them. So the next one is called Gossip Inn. My favorite brother-in-law, George, his alcohol-glazed eyes locked into me, ignored others in the dark room. Neon beer signs flickered. He had met Jimmy Lee here earlier in Jimmy's hangout to extract stories about his wife, Jimmy's ex, my sister, but Jimmy didn't show that night. We drank till close. He talked about many things. I am not an exceptionally good listener, especially when drunk. He recounted a California event when he gave a ride to a stranded woman, and when she got in the truck, a guy jumped in beside her, threatened him with a knife, straight out of daytime crime TV. George brandished a handgun from under the seat. Was it loaded, I asked? He flashed that familiar old smirk. Are you naive? Turns out it wasn't, and he didn't know. Should have seen the bitch scramble to get over the guy and out. He continued how he had driven to the culvert under the freeway, demanded they disrobe, took their clothes, and left them there. I didn't say, God, I'm so sorry it happened. I feel for him on so many slam levels bound up in my own drama. Back at the motel, where he had set his mother up while her new trailer was being installed, she drank enough vodka to pass out. She couldn't be roused. He pulled a toolkit from the truck, dismantled the door lock. I was hungover the next day, but had agreed to accompany a child on a zoo field trip. The little girl looked as frazzled as I was, didn't want to hold hands. In the extreme heat, the caged lions were too stressed to roar. French kissing. He thrust his tongue in my mouth. I think back it was icky, slobbery, but it felt important then to make out in his boyhood bedroom. Listening to the Stones, Paint It Black, Mother's Little Helper, Under My Thumb, a place soon enough I would never want to be. He wouldn't be Prince Charming pressed hard to my lips. I didn't relish the rough scrub, his whiskered face against mine. Oh, those antics, rolling, tossing, pushing. I thought it so real, so urgent. Phoniness I barely recall. Outrageous. I never learned to hover, pamper, hold on tight. Instead, I loosened the twisted thread between us so far out and then let go. Inevitable fall. Early August morning before the harsh heat closes in, a hint of fall breezes through the trees. It is welcome but sad to think the summer sun will eventually stop producing peppers, cucumber plants will wilt, green beans will fail to appear, and tomatoes rot on the vine. There is some terrible urgency to realize even the tiniest baby in the family will grow up. perhaps live as I did. And then I am one of the old timers on the block, right up there with the neighbor who hobbles to the mailbox. All things fall apart and cease, except the earth, hopefully. There is a great future in plastics. Think about it. Will you think about it? At the algae-polluted college pond, a lone heron flies shore to shore, while ancient catfish surface to snap up bread people toss. Giant turtles circle, swim, and mate. Naked ladies push through the hard, dry dirt. A cheery surprise. Am I going too fast or am I? No? Okay. Easter, Altadena, 1972. My only black work friend, Jackie, could cook. Ham out of the oven spilled out of sweetness in the kitchen. Okra steamed in a large pot. Jackie said to come on. I followed her to the front house. Bubba, she called in, give us some money. We want beer. An oversized screen, not as big as the movies, broadcast horse racing. A tall, buff ex-con, Terry, came to dinner too. After we ate, drank beer, talked, Jackie asked Bubba to drive me home. Buses didn't run late on weekends. On the drive down Rosemead Boulevard, Bubba said San Gabriel was all white. He would have to watch for cops and drop me off fast. What? Why is that? I snickered. Surely he was kidding around. Jackie jerked her head right and back, navigated the passenger seat. Terry sat still and silent. When we arrived, I hopped out, waved. I was relieved I hadn't had to walk miles or hitch a ride. I didn't think about the danger or even consider their safe passage. The day with them had been amazing. I watched the taillights zigzag, streak, and disappear in traffic. Colorado Boulevard. The San Gabriel Range emerged from smog as an artist's brush might mark peaks and angles in ochre. Strangeness subsided in the bakery as sweet pastry mixed with coffee aroma and small talk. They spoke of the work they did and said their names, casually forgotten. He was a clean-cut card dealer with a French accent looking for contact and pastry. He offered nothing else, and she held her drama. It was public, not like she opened the door and let him in. The bus headed to Vegas rolled out, smoke trailing, while St. Bernard puppies tumbled in a pet store window. Circling. Carla stubbed the smoke in the ashtray, said she wouldn't mind dying. She says we will all get the virus, be strong enough to survive or not. We're all gonna die. I think of everything I will leave undone, but everything is never done. I have already lived a long time. I think about my oldest niece, Cindy, before COVID. I sat across from her at a picnic table at the lake. She ignored me. She was trying to get the attention of another woman who sat with her back to her. It was painful, not for my sake, but to watch the woman avoid her. A woman who, in my opinion, didn't hold a dot of significance compared to her. The memory is torturous, especially since she died suddenly, and I didn't tell her how I felt. It's best she didn't have to face the stress of the pandemic. She was fragile. It would have destroyed her. She may have already guessed what was coming. She never laughed anymore. She raised her eyebrows from across the shelter rather than say something. Carla lit another cigarette, popped a beer, offered me one. Woman in house dress. She preferred the color of spring, but spent most days indoors, head nodded or at the table. She dropped a pill out from each prescription bottle. She might have been a woman modeled in a Matisse painting, adorned in a bold, gold-colored jungle print house dress. At the table, space would be laid for a visitor to sit and join for toast and jam, coffee served on loud china cups and plates. She hands the guest a lemon-colored banana with outlined ridges matched to a green from her dress. Matisse may have painted her passion, lined her face, kind, generous nature, then added a white cat goddess beside her on a black seal. Surely he would have updated the kitchen curtains to purple velvet drapes with bright orange flowers, drawn back and tied to reveal trees budding, letting sunshine spill into the room. Bird watching. I have a lot of birds. It seems like the birds were just all over the place in this set. Bird watching. They roll up in wheelchairs, face the courtyard where bird feeders overflow seed to the ground. Each has a small pair of binoculars. Oh, I think that is so cute. These are not little kids, but older folks living out their time. Snow and cold on the other side of the window don't bring the usual robin clan, wrens, or a fat dove that sometimes sits on the ground nesting with its partner nearby. After I finish giving the shower, I step out to the lot. A pair of large birds lands atop a light pole. What are they, I wonder? Some raptor, not owls, maybe hawks. One, widespread wings, flies away, while the other surveys space closing in to senior living apartment projects. I turn and the last bird suddenly disappears. Residents have moved on to watercolor paints. One woman has a set of acrylics and a canvas she washes with a wide brush. On the freeway home, I try to detach. A murmuration against an already gray sky drifts, floats, disappears. If I could, I would file it in a brain folder along with Johnny Hartman and Coltrane. You are too beautiful for one woman alone, and I am a fool for beauty. To open when I want, when I need it. The resident care salesperson says the average stay is 18 months. Some make it longer. At home, I walk off a backache. Okay, I got 3 more poems, and this one is called Red. I awake to the whirring of stuff in hair and surrounding the entirety of what I am, like a dust storm in the desert. You might say I'm a parcel of the total collection of trash I've created throughout life. I am panicked with every piece: cup, straw, plastic glove, fast food sack, glass bottle, coffee grounds, food garbage, plastic bag, cat litter, dog food bag, and on and on and on. And I am troubled by what I discarded that wasn't trash, what was sentimental before I began keeping everything. There was a little red jewelry box hand-painted from Japan the folks brought back from a business trip. I can't believe I tossed it away during a move. I hated leaving the neighborhood where I knew the kids, the parents, a place that felt like home. But I'm spiteful, always fighting it, but it's in my makeup. I awake to a whir of stuff, a dust storm in the desert. Worry about the little red box at the bottom of heaps, layers of history smashed. I dreamed Dad came back to apologize for the moves, the dodges, the turning away. None of it matters now. Fall again. The perfectly spotted deer hid behind a tall fir tree trunk, peeked out, followed the human who had once rescued her from a little barking dog. I can't be seen, the deer thought, disguised in the mini forest. A pair of baby barred owls followed the human holding a barking dog, always there looking down when she looked up. She is so unusually lovely. They liked the way she studied them as they did her. The blackbird on the peak of the barn called out, cawed, barked, pretended to call another bird, but really wanted her to notice. Notice again what a fine specimen, so slick, so blue black, so opposite her, with her fleshy pale face, eyes focused upwards. A worm gorged the abandoned peppers, spent days hidden in the green, suctioned while the human watched. How strange that she allowed the leaves and leftover peppers to disappear. She must have anticipated what a beautiful moth would emerge from the goo-filled body. A squirrel hurried to harvest walnuts and acorns fallen and scattered on the ground. Thank you, thank you. It removed an outer shell with teeth peeling, then raised and flicked its tail, nut in mouth, rushed away to stash in the hollow of an old tree. A leggy spider dangled from a delicate fiber, up, down, down, up, trapping what flew in. She thought the human admired the works of art she wove, since the human made an effort not to face into and destroy. She thought, without her, the human's world would be overrun by bugs. The human imagined outdoor creatures noticed her through the veil of their cohabited lives. And I'm going to end with this one. It's another long-term care poem. And there are some words that I really don't exactly know how to pronounce, so I'm just going to kind of fake it a bit. So, music in long-term care. She says she doesn't tell me to turn off Alexa when the music is somber because she is afraid I won't play it all together, especially her favorite, Alexis French, composer of the soothing Dreamland and Bluebird. She says she wishes she knew music like I do. I don't know much. Flunked 7th grade music after the teacher read the intercepted note I wrote to a future ex-con drug dealer aloud in class. I never listened to another lesson. Later, I saw the teacher, Mr. Anderson, a patient at the hospital the day Dad died. It all came rushing back. I locked on the look in his eyes, both of us speechless. Years later, I was attracted to a photo of Philip Glass on the cover of a magazine. I heard photographer play in an office building elevator. I saw operas at the Folly, 1,000 airplanes on the roof where the scenery was projected onto the stage. And lace on fond, terrible, terrible. A sheer curtain subdued the set and words projected into the action. I wish I could go back, see it again, with better understanding. I say, Alexa, play the Philip Glass station. That's where we found Alexis French and fell hard. Then a whole world of music came with him. French Cafe, Liquid Mind, Ayanadi. That somber music, she says. I hate it. Play that French music. I realize it is never too late to learn, to soothe and be soothed, to be happy. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. That is really beautiful. And I love that you came to loving music later in life, because I find that I am attracted to opera, but I didn't really learn opera when I was young. But now that I'm middle-aged, I find I'm really enamored with it. But that's really beautiful. Also, I love all your bird images. Were so nice. So.
Kathy, you made my Alexa play Philip Glass.
I did?
Yes, you did. Congratulations.
All right.
I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, I think we're ready for our next reader. And I'm really privileged to get to introduce Dan Erickson, who was my AP English teacher for part of my senior year of high school. So I never get tired of saying that. So Dan Erickson is a poet and writer. He recently moved to Kansas City with his family after living 13 years in Pretoria, South Africa. He works with an international NGO, putting writing, imagination, and spirituality together for cross-cultural workers. He grew up in Ecuador and studied English literature at Cal State East Bay. He has worked with several South African performance poets and has taught beginning poetry to people from multiple African and South American cultures. Please welcome Dan Erickson.
Hello. I was going to start with something else, but we were listening to birds, and so I'm going to read one that I wrote yesterday and this morning. And I don't have any bird poems, I don't think, but this is about a sailplane, so we'll go with it. And I started it thinking it was going to be a poem, and it turns out it's a short story, but you're going to hear it as a poem. So I apologize for that. Leonardo's mother keeps macaws with clipped wings to keep them from flying away. She bought them to match a pair of oversized recliners. She might not mind if they flew now. They weren't a perfect match. She did not realize she would never be able to teach them endearing phrases. Macaws only repeat what they hear most. When she spills coffee, they say, "Stupid bird, stupid bird." Leonardo is 12, but he still makes a show of putting on sweaters before going next door to play. He calls it next door. It is a vacant lot on a bluff. He's been forbidden to play there as long as he can remember. It is too full of dangers, broken glass, rusty nails, spiders, snakes, goblins that only mothers can imagine. An old sailplane is tethered at the bluff's edge, a light-boned bird with long, graceful lines, thin wings with a 50-foot span. It tips left, then right when there's a breeze. The nose is pointed downhill. It has been years since it soared. Leonardo's father sits in a man cave lazy boy watching weightlifters on a giant screen. He listens to heavy metal. He's a welder. Hangs his mask over his coveralls, over his boots. And his boy stands in front of them, there in the garage sometimes, and tells them what he cannot tell his father, that he is a flyboy, his head in clouds and still looking up. He fills his lungs with helium at birthday parties, hoping to float while his friends say chipmunk swear words. Leonardo hangs his sweater on a sailplane wing after checking the kitchen window. He pops the plexiglass cockpit open and climbs in, the smell of old canvas and leather surrounding him, welcoming him to his place. He rattles the stick back and forth, closes his eyes, and a gust picks the glider up for a moment, kiting it on its tether 3 feet off the ground. Leonardo's sweater blows away into foxtails. The sailplane tugs at its leash, and he noses the plane down, touches gently to earth, the aircraft responding to his will. He laughs, whoops, pulls back on the stick as another gust snaps the tether. In a moment, he is 20 feet up. The sailplane leaping for the sky, Leonardo in the pilot's seat, watching the altimeter speed up. He's a flyboy. He noses down a little to keep from stalling in dead air. His parents' house slips away behind him as he feels for thermals with his wings, flicks his tail feathers to turn along the ridge, and makes himself at home. Okay. These don't go together. None of these go together, I don't think. But we'll keep going here. This is Doritos. I have nothing against your staple food of choice, rice, potatoes, bread, whatever. But when it comes to snack food, you have to admit that corn has it going on. Plain, tall corn sticks in your teeth, popped or on the cob. For this, I thank Mexicans. In particular, the first Mexican mother that boiled a corn tortilla in oil too long and fed it to her family anyway. That woman gets all the love because Doritos, people. Oh, you've stood there in Safeway, haven't you? Your basket full of regret, broccoli and Coke Zero. You stared at them, bags full of triangular, deep fried, salty crunch sex, Doritos. You know them by their skins. The blue one nobody loves and nobody hates. The red one fiery and dangerous. The black one a nightclub, strong, spicy, sinful. The orange one delicious, but honestly it smells like feet. 3 bags seems greedy, so you only take 2. 1 black for the strong, 1 blue for the weak. Family size. You know you're going to pop one of them in the car before you even leave the parking lot. Receptors in your brain will scream the rightness of any world in which Doritos exist, the perfection of any universe that can deliver this much pleasure from such humble kernels. You've read the bag, of course. You're a responsible shopper. It says Doritos on the front, all you need to know. Now, In your living room, the powdered crumbs litter your face and you turn the bag over. You're dizzy, drunk with carbohydrated ecstasy. You read, experience that ballistic Doritos brand crunch as it unleashes an explosion of Cool Ranch flavor in your mouth. It's the only snack bold enough to call itself Doritos brand. Snackstrongproductions.com. Ingredients: corn, vegetable oil, salt, and a bunch of flavorings. Every bag, no matter what color: corn, vegetable oil, salt. I know a white lady with a Mexican man's kidney. It keeps her alive. She's a cheesy yellow bag. He's a spicy black one. He probably took that kidney to places that would make her blush. Dance to music she would only shrug to. Thank God the marketing copy didn't matter. It's the only kidney bold enough to call itself Mexican brand. What mattered was corn, vegetable oil, salt. Yellow bag, corn, vegetable oil, salt. Black bag, corn, vegetable oil, salt. All the same at their core. Okay. Do you have any nerds here? Yes. Okay, good. Here's a poem for nerds. Old Herb Jacobson, the engineer, brought a wrinkled stack of popular electronics magazines to Charlie and Jeannie's wedding. He was a friend of my father. My father told me to find the weird kid in the lunchroom, the one who stutters, who sucks on his braces, who can name every Doctor Who companion in chronological order with a carton of chocolate milk halfway to his mouth. That kid, my father said, would be interesting. I met David Alway, drawing pictures of Lamborghinis and making endless plans to ask out perfect Tammy Brownell. I didn't even have the courage to plan to ask out Tammy Brownell. Jay freaking Edgar wore the same sleeveless blue puff vest every day of 1985. We both had Commodore 64 computers, 64 big bad kilobytes, more than anyone could ever need, more than the Apple IIs had. He walked too close to me sometimes, brushed my hand, and I'd step off the curb into the street, you know, so people wouldn't think that we were nerds. He's a software architect somewhere big now, real big. Greg Rebuck must have had a syndrome. He wrote suggestive notes to Debbie and left them on her doorstep where her father found them. He didn't want his daughter to be anyone's hunka burnin' love, it turns out. Skinny Stephen wore a fedora. He had the first email account of anyone I knew. Lee was a wall-eyed IT wonk. He loved opera. Jeff graduated summa cum razor blade. But he didn't bleed out. He got a PhD and invented a test for chlamydia, the most beautifully named STD. Annie Kate Ruby could recite pi to 50 digits when we met. She knew the capital of every state in the United States, every world capital. Her mouth is crooked, but only when I look at her upside down, her head on my thigh, looking up at me, telling me about marching band. She played clarinet, all the woodwinds. She beat me at Scrabble. I beat her at Risk. She wore a scarlet dress once and sang a children's song, "It's You I Like." She made that song moan and steam. She made it pure and dirty. It's not the things you wear. She turned my face red. She sings when she thinks I'm not listening. A voice to remind me what it feels like to drink from a volcano spring for the first time. I was going to start a timer and I didn't.
So I think you've got, I'm not really sure, 7 to 10 minutes. James, do you think that's about right?
Sure. That's fine. So I grew up in Quito. I'll read a prose poem I wrote about Quito in 1983. When Taita Pablo and Mama Maria got robbed by a tipsy taxi driver, we replaced every stolen object with an identical one from our house. Blanket for blanket, rice for rice, metal bowl for metal bowl, all but their wine. We were Baptists, or as good as. The fruit of the vine was just flavoring in spaghetti sauce and marinade for slabs of barbecued ham, as long as the spirit cooked off. Mama Maria thanked us with a rooster in a burlap bag. Mom put under the desk and forgot until it roostered at 5, when Quichuas wake but missionaries sleep. The 22 roosted over the ham radio, unloaded, and Dad woke up halfway down the hall in his underwear with a fireplace poker in his hand and murder fading from his heart. He was gentle then and big. His rough fingers made tiny catching sounds pulling on my 4-year-old socks. I run my own hands over soft blankets now to hear him. I don't remember the rooster after that. Betty must have made a plato fuerte out of him, the practical thing to do. She took the 13-inch black and white television from us at noon and put it on the kitchen counter to keep up with her telenovela. I gave her my teddy bear when I graduated. We were her only children, but she was not our only mother. The imbalance leans me still. What were we supposed to do? We visited her downtown in her Pepto pink room, pictures of me, Jens, and Amy on her walls. Her spine hurt, and she took the rest of the day off every time she waxed the parquet floors in the bedrooms, leaving them stinking of kerosene and pine sol. Mama Maria came early some mornings, always neighborly in her fedora with a burlap sack of corn to shuck before dawn, and Mom would sit drowsy at the table with her in a velour burgundy bathrobe and try to follow the gossip. Taita Pablo drank. The hacienda had been sold. The wine was stolen. She never stirred the sugar into her coffee and left a thick, sweet layer in the cup that Betty rinsed out before putting it in the dishwasher. Dad made adhesive labels with Spanish translations of the dishwasher buttons for Betty. She understood English, but I never heard her speak it, never once. We would take her with us on vacations as far as Guayaquil, her land, and we would go on to Hotel Yuli on the coast. The owner's daughter lounged in the courtyard in a yellow bikini and read a book one afternoon at the end of 1983. I very carefully did not look at her. I tried not to look at her, but I've not forgotten her black hair, lengths and swells of coffee skin. I haven't forgotten the smell of Betty's pungent soap or the corn husks on the table after Mama Maria limped home, or the swing of the deodorant tree in a Quito taxi cab, or the forbidden taste of burgundy I shared with my mother, making spaghetti at dusk in Ecuador. Okay, this is a poem that was a prompt. There was a prompt every day a few years ago, and the prompt was secrete. So this is secrete. Carl spades loose dirt, one-handed, his left thumb in his mouth. He's too old to suck a thumb. They can't stop him. Out here in the back of the yard, behind the sticky tree trunk, white sap squeezes from thumbnail scratches. Boys like to watch things bleed. We'll make them bleed just to watch. Hope says treasure is buried here, some smooth flat box, hinged, locked with oilcloth inside, wrapped around a shiny gun, he hopes, or at least a knife. Some tin box treasure hidden by an older boy, cards and cigarettes and a gun, he hopes, or at least candy, a discreet place. He imagines a furtive burial, an acorn headstone, some older boy being naughty in ways he can only envy. He's looked for a treasure map in the corners of his closet. Surely there's a secret compartment to discover with candles, wicks, matches, some loot less innocent than Carl is with his one clean thumb and 9 dirty fingers. He wonders if playground legends extend to his own backyard, maybe this tree, some buried tool, pliers maybe, a hammerhead, for a gun, he hopes. At least a shiny bullet. He'd call it a shell, the older boy. Carl unthumbs his mouth, says the word so he doesn't forget. Shell. Digs loose soil, hopes to discover treasures, lost innocence. He finds a seashell, half a clam full of garden dirt. Maybe there'll be money, a roll of hundreds held together with rotting rubber bands, saved under the tree in the only bank the older boy could trust. Carl digs. Maybe he was saving for a gun. Carl hopes he was, hopes to find the dealer's address scrawled on a yellow notepad, or at least a name, a code name like Remington or Trigger or Slide. He's made guns from sticks, carrots, Legos, practiced the sound effects for the report, the whiz of a bullet, the whine of the ricochet. Carl hits a root. It's too much to hope for a rifle, a whole long package wrapped in leather. He likes the pump action to cock a shotgun. He shouldn't think that word, but takes his thumb out of his mouth to say it. Cocked my shotgun. The sound those shells make popping out of the barrel, the cigarette smoke wreathing from the hole, smelling of fireworks, sweat, the unrestrained joy of flaring matches. Carl hopes there's a shotgun, or at least a lighter, one of the silver ones with a cap that rings and snaps shut as a hero's cigarette snickers with a pull. He'll be a smoker before he's old enough. Nobody punches a smoker. Nobody steals his lunch, trips him on the playground, pinches him blue on the thighs. Nobody calls him that name again, not if he finds a gun. You can stop there.
Wow, that was awesome. That was really good. Thanks for reading all that. I should have mentioned earlier, if anyone has any books to sell, any of our readers tonight have any books to sell, please post the link or information for it in the chat that's going on, and maybe you can make some money. I don't know. Okay, our last reader tonight is Randy Ratliff, who is a civil servant and a gardener. He is on the Riverfront Committee and is a member of the Collaborators Writers Group. Everyone, Randy Ratliff. Randy Ratliff, who is on mute.
Yeah. I'm spotlighted, it says here. There we go. Yeah. All right. First of all, I want to thank these two readers, Dan and Kathy, for setting the stage so wonderfully here. That was some wonderful stuff. I was having a great time. I even forgot that I was going to be reading. So thank you very much, guys, and thank you, Riverfront, for having us for this. I wish I could say these things to the readers while we're doing this. I guess this is another thing I don't like about Zoom, but I will plow ahead. Let's see, what time is it? Okay. This is called Compurgation. The nurses outside Mom's 2 rooms have to remind her now, help her to bathe and brush her teeth, to dress, and more I won't write for strangers. We'll move her soon into 1 room, bits of her furniture for company, the rest to storage, and to nurses' aides waking her, putting her to bed, what families used to do in brief whispers behind drawn curtains. She and Dad took us off that hook when they picked this place and moved right in. So now I dangle, just as helpless as I would have been if she were here. I visit now and then, call her every week or so. I doubt we'll ever say goodbye. She wouldn't like it, wouldn't like to be that pebble in my shoe. This is an old thing I never read before. and I wanted to get it out of my system because I keep looking at it and saying, oh, that's not very good, but I like it. I suppose the title is Sour Old Fart. You meet some sour old fart, say it's on the job, so you have to be sweet, put out your hand and smile and squeeze his claw like the gold teat on a Minoan cow. Tell yourself he's kindly Gramps, despite his cold hand. That's God in a nutshell. The bleak old world never cracks the smile you look for, the grit and bone stone blank. You burrow in the dirt for heaven, ululating for nectar. You bristle, impatient for something there to thank. And so do I. God damn the howling, tuneless wind. God damn the awkward silences in chapel. God damn the unsaid secrets orphaned in the end. Before the worm gets there, let's bite the apple. All right. This is called, I write this poem only for myself. I write this poem only for myself. Like my cat, it stirs only for me. Like my cat, it murmurs at my touch and strikes at any other hand. This poem is inscrutable, like my cat, unless you know its secret word, which is me. Down in this poem, there is no flash of light. It simply is what it has come to be. A shadow slipping down, a spray of columbine, loose coins in a bowl, a gray mouse still as stone against a dark baseboard. This is called How Beautiful You Were. How beautiful you were and are no longer, how inconstant my love was and is no stronger. How brief the joys we take in one another, how breathings come to trying not to smother. How slow an empty day can be to end. How uncertain is the memory of a friend. How dull and dutiful to drink a glass of water. How impatient are the flies for summer slaughter. This is a favorite of mine. I think this is one I'm always going to read, called Civilization. As friends go, I'm not so much. I forget to stay in touch. I forget your children's names. I forget if baseball games or dance classes keep them busy. Is your wife's name Joyce or Lizzie? I do know you spit for luck, and I know you have a truck. Your weaknesses include good beer, and I know a brew pub near a bed I have to go and get. So let's go get our whistles wet. You can drive, I'll point the way. It'll give you time to say any pent-up friendly things you want, or me. We, thank God, don't have to say a thing. Odd silences hold friends together, whether we ever think of it. We'll do my chore, shoot the shit, spit wit beer on our lives' disorders, or that peach lambic Leslie orders. I can't say I like it much. Oh, our beers? We will go Dutch. All right, let's see. All right, this is called I Opened My Heart. I opened my heart to you. Fields of flowers painted the day of my declaration, my surrender, and those chocolates, knobs of several nougats enrobed in dark and milk, adventures I left to thrill you while I went away, to keep your sighing fresh, keep you spinning like a plate in a juggler's show. No, like a dancer spins on point, or a gyroscope, spun in place by my centripetal devotion. How free you ought to feel, afloat on the raft of my conversation. My stories are my houses, my secrets are the latch keys. Take the guest rooms for your sanctuaries, heroine of my saga, landlady of my cul-de-sac. Oh, yeah. All right. This one's dedicated to Pauline. The title is the greater than sign, you know, the carrot pointing right. That's the title for now. Oh, I should tell you, there's so much of this on my mind. We were in Alaska on a big boat last week. First time I ever did anything like that. Here's, there we go. There he is. That zip line was taller than the Empire State Building, they tell me. So anyway, that was fun. This is dedicated to Pauline, who, without whom I would not have been on that zip line. Greater than symbol. I was done with wandering, though nowhere arrived, content to watch and laugh. I was between, behind, in line for someone's share, content without it, too. I said so if someone asked. You didn't ask, my rose. You didn't tempt or bargain, but showed me one petal opening, then another, what it is to drink the light, how fragile strength can be, how to fill the silences. I was done with wandering, but not now. I follow you. Content, I don't know where, trusting light and fragrance. All right. And they don't really have anything to do with each other, but this one's title is the less than symbol. Oh, thank you, Beth. Thank you, everybody. I'm not really reading all the comments. I'm going to look at those right after. So, yeah, doesn't have anything to do with the other one, but I like the idea of these for titles. So, the less than symbol. An egg is not a chicken. Acorns are not oak trees. A loaf is not a sandwich. Straight legs are not bended knees. The rivulet from a mountain spring is not an ocean wide and deep. The time we tally on our clocks is neither yours nor mine to keep. Something said is rarely done. Something done is rarely finished. What ends is often re-begun to mark another moment and diminish. A blossom may precede an apple. A lowering cloud may smell like rain. Our hard luck is to grapple with things in and only in our brain. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is I wanted to write something about maybe you heard last year was kind of an unusual thing, and it's still pretty unusual. Anyway, I've been so angry and frightened by everything going on. I'm still eating the stocks of food stores that we sacked away last spring when it looked like, you know, people were going to start eating their pets and whatever. Anyway, I haven't been able to write about any of that because I'm just too upset. Maybe in reflection, like Wordsworth did. Oh, thank you, Victoria. Let's see here. So this is a found poem from a while ago that just feels right for this moment. This is called Snapshot Television. And it is word for word the statement of Yavuz Baydar, founder of Platform for Independent Journalism, July 15, 2016, BBC America World News. This is what he said in part. You really have to sift through the TRT, the state broadcast service, was seized at one point in time, and there was this communique being read by somebody, and then it went black. Otherwise, the private TV channels were basically airing President Erdogan and very many government ministers. And lately, just before I was coming to this interview, I heard main opposition leader Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu coming out in favor of democracy and continuity. And it is really a blurred picture still. It's in flux, and it's very hard for us to get the full sort of bird-eye picture of what's been happening. But apparently the situation in Ankara, in the capital, is far more tense than what appears to be in Istanbul. Yeah. I think I'll read one more. Yeah. All right, this is death, I understand, is quiet. Death, I understand, is quiet. Peace, on the other hand, makes lots of vigorous noise. No one is afraid to shout, to laugh, run down the street. The fires crackle, engines hum, neighbors gossip, strangers stop to admire your hibiscus and tell you garden stories, even about the hyacinth and the madness of Ajax. In peace, only bunkers are quiet, bomb shelters and panic rooms. Down there, old magazines and camp gear teeter on top of dried rations and army cots, the dust thick as rabbit fur. If you venture down those steps to look for a sleeping bag, you kind of tiptoe. Even two of you talk quietly, if you talk at all. It's cool and dry, quiet as a stone. You notice stray words on drums: dehydrated, emergency, sanitation. You get the hell out of there, with or without whatever it was you thought you wanted. You make a hellish racket coming up, but no one turns around. You get yourself some cake and join in singing songs. That's me. Thank you very much, Riverfront and Kathy and Dan. This was great.
Thank you, Randy. That was awesome. I want to get some cake. I think that would be amazing.
Yes.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will have another Riverfront reading in October. That will be, we believe, in person, but we're not 100% sure yet. But we know it will have Sylvia Kofler in it. So, and Sylvia has an in-person reading on Tuesday, and the Writers Place has a Zoom reading on Friday coming up next week. I believe that's correct. So,
and the Phil Miller Scholarship reading in October.
Yes. So I believe this concludes our evening, and if you all want to hang around and chat a minute, I think for a little bit that is fine, if that's okay with Carl.